and you run your heart out. You run until, you're about to pass out. You almost die running this race. And then as soon as you hand off the baton, the other person drops the baton and you start the race all over again. Right? That's the definition of hell. Isn't there some sort of ancient Greek tragic like myth or something about a guy where they forced him to carry a big boulder up to the top of the earth or something, and then every time it would fall off and it would roll to the bottom. He had to carry it back up again. I would say that that is the experience of a lot of wealthy families in America, a lot of black families in this country, where you think about this, right? If you've had 200 or 300 years of hard work in your family, you should have something to show for it. There should be some sort of accumulation process. There should not be this whole like I came in and I had nothing, I had to start over with nothing. That doesn't even make any sense. And in fact, let me just tell you now that I'm thinking about it. I don't know if you all know this or not, but I'm at this event called Traffic Sales and Profit, run by Lamar Tyler, who's one of my good friends. And the rapper Master P was here, and I didn't talk to him much. We just took a picture together and everything. And I remember hearing him and some other wealthy black people say this, and I understand where it's coming from. I completely get it. But they say things like I'm rich. My kids are not rich, and I don't want my kids to think that they're rich because I'm rich. And I understand that, especially from a perspective of saying I'm not going to spoil my kids, because a lot of times when you don't make your kids work for things, you're stealing from them the opportunity for them to evolve and grow and learn and be hungry like you were. All the things that made you motivated to become great and successful, your children are not getting those things, right? So believe me, I agree 100%. I completely get that. That makes a lot of sense. The other side of that though is that the reason that you want to have balance in that perspective is because if you're not careful, you can get to the point where you're making your kids go through the same experience that a poor person goes through, right? And that comes with all the trauma of being poor, the poverty trauma, and in some situations are these extraordinary challenges that give you opportunities to grow, and some stuff just ain't fun. Some stuff is not beneficial. Like I don't really understand necessarily how I benefited when I was 28 and I had to abandon my apartment in the middle of the night because I didn't have the money to pay the rent, right? That did not, there's nothing, there's no, here it is 25 years later. There's no sort of long-term economic or personal benefit from that experience, other than the fact that I was scared as hell, and I went through something that I did stick with me, but it kind of disrupted my life. It made it harder for me to finish school. The costs outweighed the benefits. I think that there might have been less expensive, less painful ways for me to learn that very same lesson, if you know what I mean. Right. So ultimately, what I would say to you is as you're sort of thinking about how to balance with your children the importance of not spoiling them, yet at the same time helping them understand the responsibility and the opportunity and the gift and the blessing of being the next descendant in what is a growing empire. I encourage you to just sort of keep those two in mind. So for example, I definitely tell all my girls, I got daughters and stuff. I tell my and I have a son. Um, but I pretty much tell the girls, I say, you're the daughter of the king, and you know what that makes you, right? My little one, she said, it makes me the princess. I said, absolutely. So being the princess means that you have a certain amount of privilege, but with that privilege comes responsibility, right? That means that we're going to teach you how to carry yourself like a princess, and that means you have to be graceful and kind and decent and smart and classy and everything else, right? You can't go around crapping on people because you're Boyce's daughter. You have to be someone who is worthy of the crown with which you carry. And that is in my view, and again, I'm not saying I got it all figured out. I'm not saying that I'm correct in all of this. I'm saying that this is my effort to have that balance, to kind of say, look, I want you to grind. I want you to get up and work hard every day, but I also want you to feel good about yourself. I want you to know that if you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to have a pretty good life. Things are going to be easy for you. Now, if you do something crazy, you come back and you tell me that you decided you wanted to smoke crack for a living, well, then we're going to have some hard conversations. I might have to cut some things off from you. But barring any tragically, horrifically bad decisions, I got you. I got you. Okay. I'm your fairy goddaddy. And I'm gonna make sure you don't fall too far because sometimes when kids get to a certain age and they fall and life hits them hard, they make choices that they can't be reversed. They take chances that can put them in prison. They do things that might get them killed. And that's the thing that obviously we want to avoid because it's interesting now that I'm even thinking about that. When I saw Master P at the event this weekend, who is a great guy, by the way, I've met a lot of celebrities, and some of them are very arrogant. Some of them I wouldn't even wipe the floor with them, but he wasn't like that. He's a very professional guy, very decent man. Shook everybody's hand, just understood the assignment. I also remember I was talking to my wife, and we were just kind of sitting there, sort of talking while he was taking his pictures. And I said, "Yeah, I think he had a child that died. I don't know if it was from an overdose or something, right?" So he's had trauma and tragedy that he's seen in his family. I know his brother, it was a rapper named C Murder. I think he got literally a lot of time in prison. I don't know if it was for murder, but I think it was. I know he's been there for a long time. So the reality is that this sort of black trauma experiences all or hits all of us in different ways. And my goal, my belief in terms of what the most valuable thing that wealth can really do, the most valuable thing that having a plan can really do, in my opinion, if you're black, is it can be a protector to defend you from the trauma that comes with being black. Right? He has life sentence for murder. Thank you, Calvin. I wasn't sure the details of it. I just know, when I see Master P, I do like everybody else. I say, na 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 na, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind. And then I start thinking about Snoop Loops, the cereal he's got, and all that stuff. And so I like the guy. I respect him. He did a great job. He's a very good speaker, very smart guy. Nothing negative to say about him at all. But it just makes me. But when I thought about his life and the ups and the downs of kind of dealing with that street culture, it's not all good. We know that it's not all good, and it's very, very, very traumatic. My wife is an expert on trauma. That is what she reads tons of books about. Again, she doesn't read as many books as Cat Williams, but she reads 22 books a year. And all the books that she reads while she's on the treadmill, a lot of them have to do with trauma and the subconscious mind. And actually, when I asked her, I said, I said, Black people, our subconscious minds are manipulated heavily. She said, absolutely. I said, in the subconscious mind, from what I understand, that is the most powerful, most important part of your brain. That's what shapes how you see things, how you view the world. And she said, absolutely. And I said, what are the three things? Pay attention now. You can write this down. This is worth writing down. If you got a pen, I'd write this down. I said, what are the three things that affect the subconscious mind the most? And it was right after she read this big, thick book about the subconscious mind. Don't ask me the name of the book. I don't remember. My wife reads too many books. I can't keep up with them all. She's hard to keep up with. She gets up and goes to the gym at 5 in the morning and sees clients and works all day. This lady be moving, right? Shout out to all the hardworking Black women out there. All right, I respect you tremendously. I love it actually. It's great to have a Black woman as a teammate. But anyway, she said the three things that affect the subconscious mind the most are trauma, repetition, and symbolism. Trauma, repetition, and symbolism. Trauma, repetition, and symbolism. Trauma, repetition, and symbolism. So maybe I'm repeating myself because I want this to stick into your subconscious mind. I don't know. But anyway, so here's what so when she said that, I immediately thought about Black people and I thought about hip hop because a lot of hip hop, when they talk about rapping from the trap and all that, trap music and all that, that's trauma music. All that is trauma music. Literally, it's just trauma. It's all laced in this. Like, I got shot 4 times before I was 12. My mama was on crack. My daddy killed himself in front of the whole family. My sister, went to prison for 40 years for selling drugs. My brother, murdered my cousin, right? Trauma, 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 trauma. So think of trauma like an emotional STD. That's kind of what it is. It's this thing that just gets inside you and it's hard to get rid of it. There's a great movie that everyone should go see called Smile. And in this movie, Smile, it looks like a horror movie, but it's not a horror movie. It's a trauma movie. It's about how trauma is contagious. How we traumatize people, traumatize other people, hurt people, right? And so that's what we do. You know, Dave Chappelle actually made that point when he was talking about Cat Williams, and Cat Williams is epic interview on Club Shay Shay. He literally said, hurt people, and he said that if I told you all the people who hurt me in the game of comedy, it would make you cry. I've been hurt by so many people, but I don't want to hurt more people. I don't want my trauma to become contagious. So trauma is big. I've mentioned to you guys that I believe that undiagnosed, untreated, unacknowledged trauma is probably the greatest barrier to building Black wealth that I can think of. I'm not kidding. When my wife heads our Black financial therapy department in the Black Business School. In fact, today I'm gonna have lunch with a lady named Asia Kirkendall, who wrote a book called Quantum Wealth Theory. And quantum wealth theory is all about financial psychology. We're really, really big in the Black Business School right now on money mindset, particularly for African American people, but doing it from a deep therapeutic standpoint, partner with the best therapists on the planet in order to solve these problems, right? And so ultimately, that trauma piece, when I tell you that trauma, when my wife got her certification in trauma, she talks a lot, she tells me things, and I listen. That's a little tip for any husbands. Just learn how to like be quiet and listen. That goes a long way. And she's telling me everything, and that helped me understand. Okay, the trauma that I haven't addressed in my own life has really held me back. It's held me back in business. It's helped me back in relationships. It's helped me back in really reaching the potential of my possibilities. But then also it helped me to understand what trauma does to you from a mental and physical health standpoint. Traumatized people die earlier than other people do. They're more likely to get cancers and stuff like that. And then thirdly, trauma blocks economics because economies are built on trust. Economies are built on trust. If you don't have trust, it's hard to have an economy. Why? Well, because think about this. Do you do business with people you don't trust? Yes or no? Give me a yes or no. Let's do a consciousness exercise. Some of the financial consciousness exercises we'll do in this class will be where I'll ask you a dumb question, a simple question, and I want you to consciously answer the question and think about the answer. Would you do business with somebody you don't trust? Yes or no? Would you buy from a company that you don't trust? Yes or no? If you're a banker and you're loaning money, would you loan money to a customer that you don't trust? Yes or no? Well, that's that's the whole conversation. And why do we lose trust? Well, because we get traumatized. That's why you hear Black families say things that are literally wealth killing conversations like, well, that's why I don't do business with family. That's why I don't loan money to family. I'm not saying you're wrong if you feel that way because some of your relatives are crazy. We know this. Some of y'all got crazy relatives. Some of y'all's relatives need to be put into a straitjacket and sent right to the mental health institution right away because we know they crazy. Family members should not be doing that to each other, and my heart goes out to you. But just understand that every time you make a comment like that, where you say, "Well, that's why I don't loan money to relatives. That's why I don't do business with family," stuff like that. You might as well hear like a cha-ching, where that's money falling out of your family, like that's wealth leaving the room. That's literally like wealth. You can think of wealth almost like having an air conditioner on and it's circulating and it keeps the like money circulates, it circulates and it keeps the room cool. And every time you make a wealth killing conversation, it's like opening the window on a hot summer day and all your air is going out the window. And when that air goes out the window, it takes more energy to keep the room cool than you did before, right? But whereas if you kept the window shut, it would take less energy to keep the room cool. Well, economics is the same way. Economics is the same way. Pay attention now. I want you to follow me. Let's go full circle on this. Again, it's a Sunday, so God is telling me which direction to take the conversation. I hope it's okay if we roll like that. But I want you to think about this for a minute, right? Remember I told you all that the biggest scam in America, one of the biggest, is a job. Because a job is the only place where you can work your butt off, work really, really hard for 50 years and have less money at the end of it than you did at the beginning, right? You have less money when you finish than you did when you started. Y'all remember that? Well, what's really happening there? Think about this. You're working harder than a millionaire. You're working harder than 90% of all billionaires. When you get up and you go to work every day and you're punching the clock at the factory and all that, you're working harder than everyone else. So when people think that wealth is just connected to hard work, that's just simply not true. right? So what's happening? What's going on? How is it that you're working so hard and putting out so much energy like that air conditioner? You're putting out so much energy, you're spending your electricity bills through the roof, but the room doesn't even stay that cool, or the air just goes out the window. Well, it's because the window's open, right? And you have to shut the window. You have to find some way to keep the air inside the room and let it circulate. So same thing is true with your wealth, right? Same thing is true with your wealth. When you make all this money and you're working hard on this job, some of y'all have good jobs, some of you are making good money at your job, and if you love your job, then I encourage you to keep it. I'm not anti-job. I've never been anti-job. I'm just I always just say have a plan, right? Just have a side hustle, have a second stream of income. That's what I believe. But anyway, so you're making all this money, and what's happening is that your money's coming in and it's going out. It's just like Mexican food. It's just going through, and it's going, as soon as it comes into your bank account, it's out. It's going to the landlord, to the cell phone company, to the car dealer, to the mall, whatever, right? And so your window's open. So you got the air conditioner cranking, cranking, cranking. The air conditioner is you, right? The labor, your energy, that's you. That's you. Gotta get up, go to work. Gotta get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. Gotta get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. Gotta get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. Gotta get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. Right? You're doing the same thing, same rut, 30, 40 years, and you're generating all this energy like the electricity. So you're creating all this money that's circulating like the air. And because the window's open, it's all going right out the window. And so if you stop the air conditioner, right? If the air conditioning gets turned off, then the room's going to be hot in a matter of minutes. So if you stop working, if you lose your job, right? If you lose your job, then what happens? Then oh my God, all of a sudden you're in the middle of financial trauma all over again, right? You're like, oh my God, I'm scared. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my, I have nowhere to live. I have no, right? And again, this is I believe. Here's the thing. Here's what I think. See, you got to understand. Capitalism is a big economic engine, and engines require power. Engines require energy. So for this engine to run, they need your energy. A you're the hamster on the wheel. Like the hamster on the wheel, or that's like running really hard and they're making the wheel spin, and it's generating electricity and it's powering up the whole building. So they need the hamsters on the wheel in order for the energy to continue to flow, right? That's why and if you look at a lot of financial publications, what they will say is they will say something like the economy is doing great. America has never been better. The economy is just steaming along. Right? Anybody seen those reports where they keep this is what all the fancy economists and stuff are saying right now. They're saying, "Oh my God, the resilience of the American economy, it's amazing. This is what we thought we'd have a recession because the Fed's been hiking interest rates and it just keeps on humming along." See what they're really saying, honestly, at the end of the day, is that the resilience that drives the American economy is driven by the fact that they're super shocked that they've brainwashed millions of people to work incredibly hard in a system that does not benefit them. What they're impressed with is the resilience of the American worker and the resilience of the American consumer. Those are two variables that drive the American economy. They're really shocked. They're like, man, these people won't stop working. They know the system's rigged against them. They know the pay isn't going to go up. They know that these companies don't give a damn, but they will. Americans are the hardest working people on the planet. That's why right now the American economy is head and shoulders above every other economy on the planet. China used to seem like they were catching up with us, and they might still do that, but right now they're looking a little weak right now, because they lie. In China, they like to lie. They don't like to give bad news. You remember the Wiz? You had that lady Eveline who was like, "Don't nobody bring me no bad news, no bad news, no bad news." Right? Okay, so that's what the Chinese government's like. They're like, anytime we report on our economy, we're always going to tell you everything's wonderful, even when it's not. So you can't really rely on their numbers because they just lie, right? So the Chinese aren't as strong as they used to be. And most countries in the world are like struggling economically right now, except the United States. Why not? Well, again, two reasons. One, because you will work your butts off. That's how we won wars. That's how we won World War II, is we just produce. We don't even give parents, when women have babies, we have the worst paid leave system on the planet. We don't care nothing about your kids, no nothing. I mean, they literally are like, well, you know what, ma'am, if you want to keep your job, you better go off and have that baby and be back in 2 weeks, or we will replace you with somebody else who will do the job that you won't do. Right? The United States is last on earth when it comes to things like that. So the worker is very productive, And the consumer is just as productive as the worker. What does that mean? Pay attention now. I need you to do the math. Go back to the air conditioning analogy. So you will work your butt off at the job to generate the income, and then you will work just as hard to put the income right back into the economy. You will work you will work really hard to make the money and work just as hard to spend it. The American consumer is a perfect exercise of mass mind control. That's what it is. This system would not work in France. This system in France right now, they're protesting PepsiCo. I don't know if y'all know this, but Pepsi is in a battle with French grocery stores because what Pepsi did was they were trying to keep their profit margins high for the shareholders. So they started giving you smaller bags for your snacks and charging the same price and hoping you wouldn't notice. And it worked really well in America. Americans like, okay, I don't care. I'll pay an extra $2 or whatever for my Cheetos or whatever. The French were like, screw this. So they took the stuff out of the store and they would put up signs that said, due to unreasonable pricing on behalf of PepsiCo, we no longer will supply your Fritos in this store, right? And so this system does not work in France. It would not work in a lot of countries. It would not work in a lot of South American countries. It would not work in Denmark or wherever, right, where they actually believe that mothers should have plenty of time to spend with their kids because they actually care about having a good society. But in America, it works, at least for right now. It's not a good long-term win, but it's a short-term win. And this is the game. This is the system. And so this is one of the reasons why I repeatedly said, when I was at this conference, Traffic Sales and Profit, and talking to everyone, I said, I don't want to be a capitalist. I don't believe to whatever extent I have played some part in shaping the Black economic revolution that we're in the middle of right now. I played my position. Again, I'm not trying to be the leader. I'm not trying to be the godfather. I'm not trying to be any of these things. I'm like it's like a football team, and I played the wide receiver, and I caught a couple passes for touchdowns to help the team win the game. That's all I want. I don't need all the credit. I want everyone to know that I did my part. I did my best because it's a team sport. But to whatever extent that I have a say in terms of how we shape this economic revolution, I don't believe Black people should aim to be capitalists. I don't. I believe that we should aim for free enterprise. I believe that we should aim for supporting our businesses while also supporting our people. I believe that we should always remember that people matter more than just profits. I believe that we should believe in ideas that aren't really prominent in capitalism, like like enough, like, okay, I made enough money, I don't need to keep growing in order to be successful. I'm doing okay right now. I've got plenty of money right now. I'm good. I made 20 million last year. I don't need to make 25 million. I can make 20 million, and now the rest I'm going to give away or whatever it is, right? So ultimately, capitalism is a strong capitalism creates strong economic systems, but they are not perfect economic systems. Okay, so keep that in mind. And also, just so you know, in case you don't know, if you want to, just sort of see other ways that people make money. I don't know if you guys have seen. Some of you have seen this. Some of you are on the Prime program, but I have a training called "How to Make Money Without Working," and it's on my website, boycewatkins.com. Let me see if I can find the link, and I'll just show it to you because I know personally I don't like the rat race. I don't want to be a part of it. And so the training how to make money without working is totally free. I'm going to share this with you guys. So and I think that you're going to be intrigued with what you see. So let me put this link in the chat and save that link, and maybe for your homework today or something, you can watch that video. And I guarantee it will introduce you to another way to think about money making that goes beyond just get up, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, go to bed. That's got to be like freaking depressing. Okay, so let's dig into this generational wealth thing, and let's see. Does Dr. Boyce trade in the foreign exchange market, forex? Not much, Calvin. Not much. The forex market is not a bad market. It's the most liquid market in the world. It's massive. But the problem with the forex market is that it's not as straightforward as the stock market. With the stock market, I could literally train a 5-year-old in 5 minutes with $5 on how to be very wealthy in a matter of time, right? It's very easy to do, very straightforward, proven with science going back to 150 years. The forex market is what we in economics refer to as a zero sum game. That is like a game where if one side wins, the other side must lose, right? In the stock market, everybody can win, right? Or everybody can lose. In the forex market, everybody, if one person's winning and making money, the other person's losing money, right? So ultimately, I'm not saying that forex is bad. I'm just saying that that's not, to me, a straightforward, direct, easy, simple way to make a consistent stream of cash flow. However, the things we do in the Prime program, that's easy to prove. That's easy, direct money. You just have to manage your risks and sort of make some adjustments and pick the right assets. But yeah, that's something that works. So if you want to take a look at that, you can go to drboyceprime.com. Also at blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's where the $5 a day plan is. This is what I'd love to get everyone to consider for your family. All you got to do is just kind of make a pledge that you're going to like do this consistently invest in the S&P 500 and not sell the assets. Just don't sell the assets. And the reason you don't want to sell the assets is because you want to do what rich people do. Rich people do a strategy they call buy, borrow, and die. Give me a guess if you've heard about buy, borrow, and die. Yes or no? How many of you have heard of the strategy of wealthy people called buy, borrow, and die? Okay, a lot of you that have been riding with me for a while, you probably know it because we've been talking about it. Those of you who are new, let me describe it. And those who already know it, maybe you'll learn something again. I learned stuff by repeating it and sort of going through it over and over again. So here's the funny game. It's awesome. It's awesome in the sense that like if you use it to your advantage, it's awesome. But for society's purposes, it's not very good. All right. So anyway, here's what happens. So there was a wealthy guy who was friends with my brother. My brother works for one of these multi-billion-dollar hedge fund type places, and he literally writes these massive checks for millions of dollars to get businesses going and to stuff like that. And so one guy he talked to who was a billionaire, he said a lot of wealthy people like me, he said we laugh when they put out the Forbes list. We think the Forbes list is a joke. And he said, why? He said, well, because nobody really knows what I'm really worth. And he said, well, why not? He said, because I don't sell anything unless I have to. I don't, I get that question from you guys a lot. You'll ask me about stock and you'll say, well, when should I sell? And I say, well, I mean, I guess if you have to sell, you sell, but why would you sell? If something is growing in value, why not just keep it? As you're building your capital base. Building the capital base is the most important thing you can do for yourself. It's building a capital base is the most important thing you can do for your family. Building a capital base is the most important thing you can do for your kids. Building a capital base is the most important thing you can do for your grandkids. Building a capital base is the most important thing you can do for your community. What is the capital base? We've discussed this, right? But let's talk about it again. Capital base is just basically a big pile of stuff that you own. It might be stocks over here, bonds, real estate, relationships, um, apple trees, horses, just stuff that you have that you can use to generate cash flow, or you can sell it if the heat gets too hot, if things get hard. That's how big corporations and organizations operate. That's what saves them in a way. That's why Harvard has an endowment of $50 billion that's just there for a rainy day. Right? And also there for them to take advantage of opportunities. That's why so many universities are able to go and buy up black neighborhoods and all this other stuff. So anyway, so building this capital base is extremely important. So let's talk about buy, borrow, and die. Well, buy, borrow, and die is where people that are wealth builders, what wealth builders are, is they do the opposite of what we talked about earlier. Remember, I said that a lot of times the job is a scam because we're working our butts off every single day and we're busting our butt, building all this wealth, and then we spend it at the mall and the wealth goes right out the window. We give it right back to the landlord, the car dealer, the cell phone company, in the mall, and then we have to go back to work again to get more money. And so your wealth is a flow, right? And you're excuse me, but well, really, in fact, your wealth is not even wealth. It's really just income. Income is the little brother to wealth. Income is the fetus. Wealth is supposed to be the newborn baby. But a lot of people don't don't create the newborn baby. They're just sort of going through the motions, right? So you're creating income, but it doesn't translate into wealth because there's not a stock. Everything is a flow. So the money's kind of coming through you and going out the window. Rich people don't do that. Wealthy people don't do that. Wealthy people, what they do is they focus on the stockpiling side of economics. When they make a dollar, they're trying to put aside 50 cents, 30 cents, whatever of that dollar into a pile somewhere, right? And into these places that become what they call stores of value. Stores of value is basically where you put all your stuff. And if you're working hard your whole entire life, you should be accumulating stuff. And then but that's not the norm, right? And so when they accumulate all this stuff, what they do is they're just buying things. If they get some extra money, they'll go buy a property. If they have some extra cash in their bank account, they'll buy some stock that week. Every week, they're buying $30 worth of stock, $100 worth of stock, whatever they can afford. And they're doing this on a consistent basis. And so what's happening is not only are they building up this army of this financial army with all these dollar bills are like little soldiers. And these soldiers will either defend you if someone tries to attack you, right? If you got your money right, it's really hard for people to control you, exploit you, or tell you what to do. Or they can actually go on the attack if you actually want to conquer territory. If you say, hey, I want to go and own more property on this block, or I want to go and have a business and hire people so I can tell them what to do, or you say, I want to go own a piece of America, I want to expand the empire. Well, the soldiers can go out on your behalf and expand the empire. Do you understand? Do you follow me? Do you get what I'm saying? This is a strange analogy. I've never given this particular conversation before because God tells me what to say and I just say it. Okay. So it is Sunday. So praise the Lord. All right. So, so here's the deal. So wealthy people stockpile, stock, right? And then what happens is they're not really selling unless they have to, right? Because they've got money to pay their bills. Why would they sell? Why, if I have a house that's doubled in value in the last decade, why would I sell it? Because it's going to double in value again, right? This is exponential wealth growth, right? So, so because they're on the fast train, they got a strong economic vehicle. They stay on the train. When the train's moving, you stay on the train. You don't get off the train and say, "Well, I'm gonna walk for a while." No, you stay on the damn train. So they're stockpiling wealth, and then when they need money, they don't sell their assets. Why? Well, because as soon as you get off that train and you sell something, the IRS is going to be sitting there like, okay, where's my cut? Where the IRS becomes the biggest financial beneficiary whenever we do financial transactions. They take a cut of every transaction that occurs, right? So you don't sell, you stay inside the train because the IRS is outside the train and they can't get you. They're like the bullies outside the house. You're hiding in your mama's house, and you know that if you come outside, Shaniqua and Tyrone are gonna whip your ass. So you stay inside the house because that's where you're safe. I don't know if anybody's ever gone through that, but I'm really expressing my own trauma when I tell this really irrational story. Okay. So then here's what happens, right? So when they get old enough and they pass away, they form an estate plan. And I'm going to give you in a second the 5 ingredients for a strong estate plan. And they transfer the wealth to their children in a way that is structured and careful so that they don't spill anything out of the bucket, right? You carefully pass the bucket to the kids because if you're not careful, if you're sloppy with it and you say, here's a bunch of money and you throw it at them, then guess what? The water is going to be everywhere and whatever. And you've been filling up this bucket drop by drop for 30 years. But some people do that. Think about this. Look at how many of our people, again, this is why wealth is culture. This is why wealth is, if you don't know, go to drboycebooks.com. My book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. That's what we're going to do our next training on. We're going to go through this book step by step because I'm telling you, I really know this is going to benefit you. And look at how many times you see somebody that will work their butt off their whole life to build all this wealth and then not think about a proper estate plan. And then it doesn't matter. All of that's like out the window. They end up giving it right back to the IRS and a bunch of lawyers and probate attorneys and whatever, right? And so culture, again, this is all culture though. This is all, the culture. Like how often do you see, people in your family sitting around talking about trusts and wills and estate plans? You just don't, right? So what wealthy people do because they want to protect the wealth is they carefully pass the bucket over to the kids, right, with a carefully designed estate plan. And then what happens is really crazy. This is financial magic, or you can call it, cronyism slash corruption, if you will. They don't tax the kids on any of the wealth you've accumulated your whole entire life. So you've owned this property that has quadrupled in value. You bought it for, or more than quadrupled. You bought it in 1980 for $50,000. Now it's worth $1 million. Nobody in your family pays taxes on those $1 million. It's terrible. It's absolutely corrupt. I hate it. I don't like it because just in case you want to know, that's why the United States is buried in debt. That's why our deficits are so massive because rich people are able to get around the IRS. And then the kids, when they get that property, they pay taxes on anything above $1 million. That's what they call a stepped up basis. So buy, borrow, and die. So throughout their life, when they need money, they will borrow against the property they own and use that to pay bills. And then when they need more money, they can, or they need to pay off the previous loan. Sometimes they'll get another loan to pay off the previous loan because the whole time your wealth is growing, your capital base is growing constantly. So you're getting, every time you go back to get, more loans against the property you have more stuff than you had before. So wealthy people can do this, right? This is a strategy that's been used. So ultimately, this is just one way of kind of looking at it. And again, yeah, you asked about the book. Yeah, the book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you go to drboycebooks.com, that's where it is. And that's the stuff that you need to understand. Okay, so let me share my slides really quick. And I want to do our financial reflection for today. And basically it's around estate planning. So let's start here with this question I want you to answer. And this is all in your workbook. If you go to drboycebooks.com and search for the word 30 days to wealth and power, you can get the reflective journal that we've been using. And this, once you fill out that journal, you will have an economic plan because I'm asking you to reflect on your financial choices, your financial situation, your financial trajectory, so that you can then be financially conscious, which will then allow you to move forward in a financially deterministic way. So the question is this, write this down if you haven't done this yet. Did your family leave any inheritance when you were born? How did that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Right? And I ask that question because I want you to tap into your feelings. My wife done made me touchy feely and stuff, and I do believe in feelings, and I'm kidding. I've always been in touch with my feelings. I've always been emotional and an empath and stuff like that. But I know how to be emotionally disciplined because I understand I'm a black man and I have to fight sometimes. But I think being in touch with your emotions is very beneficial. And in fact, meditations that I do sometimes in the morning is I will wake up and I'll say, "Gosh, I feel bad today. Why do I feel bad? I feel stressed out. Why do I feel stressed out? What's going to make me feel less stressed out?" Right? And these types of things are the reflections that I encourage you to do because it creates more peace inside your soul, and also it helps you to reach your goals more effectively. You're completely locked in on who you want to be, who you're supposed to be, and who you're going to be. So I want you to just sort of think about that, right? And I want you to reflect on that feeling. How does that make you feel that nobody left you anything? Right? What are your thoughts? So some thoughts that some of us may have may be that we know that our loved ones may not have known any better, right? They may not have known any better, right? How many of you would say that that would be true? That maybe you had people that loved you, they just didn't know how to properly love you. They didn't know that when you were they forgot about the fact that when you were 35 or 40, you were going to have bills to pay, financial problems, face eviction, worry about losing a job, get beat up every day by white folks at work, right? Maybe they didn't process that, or they thought that was just part of being black or whatever, right? But it's not that they didn't love you; they just maybe didn't understand. They just didn't know what to do to prepare financially, right? Give me a yes or no if you have relatives that will be in that category. So I'm going to follow up that question, that consciousness question, with another question. Okay, so you've been hanging out with me for a while. Some of you have been listening to me for many years. Some of you just got here maybe today. I want to ask you this question. Do you know better? Yes or no? Do you have more awareness than your parents did? Do you have more awareness than your grandparents did? Yes or no? Do you know things that most of your friends and family don't know that you're going to eventually share with them that will help you make better decisions? Have you been told? Have you been fully informed? Have I fully convinced you that the worst thing we can do for these kids and grandkids is to put them out in a racist society without any assets? Give me a yes if we agree on this fact. Put a yes in the chat. Let's be conscious. Let's consciously do this. We're going to be intentional with our actions. Okay, so since that answer is yes, and I see your yeses on the screen, then you absolutely must do this. This is absolutely essential. Forming a proper family estate plan for an African American is more important than any job application you have ever filled out. And we know we fill out job applications. It's more important than almost anything that you can think of that we've done on a regular basis. Think about this. Think about all the things that we prioritize, right? We prioritize paying rent on time. We prioritize maybe going to college. We prioritize going to work every day and doing what our boss tells us to do. Well, this has to be part of your priority too. Keep working hard, keep being consistent, keep being professional, keep being strong. Just be consistent, professional, and strong for yourself and for your family. Your family is the most important institution that you'll ever be associated with So it's very, very important that we respect that institution as much as we respect that other man's institution. Because we respect his job. We don't come in and mess up what he's got going on. You got that job at UPS. You're not going to come in there and act a fool while you got your UPS uniform on. Well, I encourage you to do the same thing when it comes to wearing the uniform that represents your family. So here are some key elements of a good estate plan that you may want to consider. I'm gonna put these all on the screen now so you can start jotting them down because I am going to take them off the screen in a moment. So go ahead and start writing them down if you'd like to have them. Number one, you have to have a will or a trust. A lot of times, the will is really the trusts are really the best vehicle in my opinion in the sense that they can protect your assets from probate, minimize tax issues, create financial clarity. You can give specific instructions in the trust. A trust is basically an entity that is like another person. It's like handing all your stuff over to another person and saying, okay, here, you hold on to this. That way, if I get sued, they won't be able to get all my stuff because you'll be holding some of my stuff, right? Or when someone dies, the trust there are so many different types of trust, and we're not going to do complete estate planning today. So, and I'm not an estate planning expert. However, we are going to bring some estate planning experts into the Black Business School so we can really go over all those details. Okay, but so just know there's a ton of so don't ask me like which type of trust should I do for this and this because that's beyond the scope of this consciousness training. My goal is to help you understand that it's very important if you want to make sure your assets are protected that you somehow sit down with somebody who's an expert on trust and make sure that that's all set up. Also, with a will, you can get a basic will written up on Rocket Lawyer, Chat GPT, whatever, right? Just something, or just write something up. You can write down some of your wishes and just put them in an email real quick to somebody as a beginner, as a starter, until you get a formal will established, right? Just something that documents what you want to have happen in case you die. Because here's the thing, we forget that sometimes death does not make an appointment. It doesn't. And when death comes, death does not care how many people you're taking care of. Death does not care how many appointments you have on your calendar. Death does not care how many hopes and dreams you have for the future. Death does not care that you thought you were going to have another 25 or 30 years. Death does not care, and it's so final. And I just think about these crazy scenarios. We saw like when Aretha Franklin died, and her sons were fighting over the money because they were like, well, we found a will under a couch, and we found one that was in the kitchen. And again, I know that we go to conspiracy theories that know the record labels they did it because they did. Maybe, but I personally still think that there's ways around that. When Prince dies without a will, $100 million got transferred out of his family and out of the Black community. $100 million that he spent thousands of hours working to acquire went out the window because Prince did not take the time to form some sort of plan for when he died. Again, I'm not criticizing the man. I know we love his music. My wife loves Prince so much that I get jealous when she talks about him because I make little nasty, jealous, little hater remarks like, "How can a man wear high heels and a thong and still be considered a man?" But that's just me being a hater because I'm very jealous of his talent. But I will say to you that I still honestly don't understand the lack of an estate plan in the case of Prince because that was a lot of wealth that is made by other people. I talked to an estate planning attorney who said that we make all of our money from families that don't make a plan. So when money gets transferred into their pocket, it's being transferred out of your pocket, out of your family's pocket, out of your children's pocket, out of your grandkids' pocket. And so we gotta really confront some of these weird things that happen. When a 50-year-old man dies and his family has to send out a link for a GoFundMe account. How many of you know people like that? And I got people in my family. I got a GoFundMe link for somebody in my family that died. And I said, this man's 50 something years old. He's been working his whole entire life. You mean to tell me that I got to donate $100 to help bury him? And honestly, I get biased with that, to be honest. That's my pet peeve. My pet peeve is I honestly have a pet peeve with men who don't understand our responsibility as men. And I think women have their responsibility as well. But as a man, I get very offended by that because I feel that as men, if we don't protect our own community, if we don't protect our own people, if we don't protect our women, if we don't protect our children, then who do you think is going to do that job? So you cannot conduct yourself as a conquered people. That's not going to be beneficial. But let me get off that soapbox because I don't want to be judgmental. But I think because I was exposed to so many weak men in my life and a couple of strong men who made up for the weak men, I have a real issue with us not being conscious enough to say, well, what about the kids? Let's make sure that they're safe. Let's make sure that they're good. Let's make sure the family name is protected. Okay. Let's keep going. Your beneficiary should be clearly designated. You got to be real clear about who gets what so the kids don't end up fighting. Whenever there's a lack of leadership, there's always a battle that ensues. Whenever there's a leadership void, the battle ensues. Anybody remember the movie Soul Food? Anybody remember that? Now make sure you write this down because I'm gonna take this off the screen in a minute. Anybody remember the movie Soul Food? How many of y'all remember that movie from the 1990s with Vanessa Williams and I forgot who else was in it, but I think that I forgot the guy's name. But anyway, it was a good movie, right? So remember in the movie Soul Food, everything revolved around Big Mama. And Big Mama was the leader of the family. Big Mama was the one that brought everyone together, and they would have soul food on Sundays, and they all connected around, around their love for each other. And their way of expressing love was Big Mama would feed them soul food, which ironically was the reason Big Mama died. But that's just me making a point that, that you can ignore if you feel like it. But anyway, so what happened when Big Mama died? Does anybody remember what happened when Big Mama was gone? What happened when Big Mama died? When Big Mama died, the family went into total chaos. People started fighting and factions started forming and people were separated. They weren't coming together anymore. Well, a lot, and it didn't actually come back together until new leadership was established, until the family, formed some sort of new leadership structure, right? So whenever there's not clear leadership, there's going to be conflict. This is why leadership skills are extremely important for anybody that wants to run a family because you've got to lead the young people and let them know what's tolerated and what's not. My father happens to be a police commander. You don't get much better at leadership than that, right? So he maintained a certain type of order. There was a code of behavior. There was a way that we would treat each other and a way we did not treat each other. There were rules that we followed and rules that we dare not violate. As a family, there is a clear structure in terms of him saying, like, this is what you're supposed to do. And again, it's biased, right? It's his approach. He's a Southern black man. But even when I come to him and I say, my wife, Alicia been getting on my nerves. Let me tell you, blah, 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 blah. He talks to me about like, well, this is what you do as the husband. This is what you do as the head of the household. He doesn't say, well, just get rid of your wife. Just go on and go out and get you a couple girlfriends and go to Disneyland. No, he doesn't do that. He says, no, you go home, you figure it out, you talk it out. Here's what you got to do. I had this issue with your mother 30 years ago. This is how we figured that out. That type of guidance is extremely important. And in case you want to know, like this is a little side tip. If you're thinking about getting married, it does help if you marry somebody who has seen a marriage actually last, right, in their house. Not to say that people can't overcome that, but there's a lot of little nuances that I saw from my parents that I wouldn't understand if I wasn't there, right? Because there might be days where things are hard and you say, oh, well, I guess I'm supposed to get a divorce because the last 2 weeks have been bad. But people who've seen it, who've sort of seen how the whole movie plays out, they're able to have a different perspective. They have a different type of consciousness. There's that word again, that word we've been using, consciousness. They have consciousness, which means they elevate and they can see the perspective. They're not looking at what happened yesterday. They're looking at the last 10 years and the next 20 years, and they're connecting all that, and that's driving their decision making. A lot of bad decisions get made because people have a lack of perspective. They think about how they're feeling right now instead of thinking about how they're going to feel long term. And that is true not just in economics, it's true in any area where you make your most important investments. Remember, most of your most important investments are not going to be financial. Your most important investments are going to be related to things that don't seem to have anything to do with money. So let's pull this back up again. Number three, powers of attorney is signed, right? You have to have a process where people can sign for other people in case somebody can't sign for themselves. You designate your power of attorney. I have stuff where my wife can sign stuff in case I can't sign or whatever, and we sort of make those agreements. Healthcare directives. What happens if you get sick? If somebody, and this is the other thing too, there's not enough conversation about long-term care, Medicaid and stuff like that. They will eat through all the wealth that you've accumulated your whole entire life if you don't have some sort of estate plan to protect those assets. They have that 5 year look back period. So if you say, okay, well, before my parents go into the hospital, we're going to go ahead and transfer everything in Pookie's name so that it doesn't belong to them anymore. Well, they're going to go back and they're going to grab that stuff anyway, right? So again, today's not a day for like detailed conversations about estate planning. This is kind of an overview to give you consciousness of some things you may want to look at as you do your research. But also, and what I'll do is I'll try to put something together on estate planning so we can specifically drill into this. But that's not an area that I'm an expert on, but I do know a lot of estate planning experts. And that's one of the things that I think that we should think about as a community. And what I really like, I'm gonna tell you the truth. Let's look at that picture right there. Like let's do a consciousness exercise. And I want you to look at this picture, right? This is an AI picture, right? But look at that family. Look at it. I mean, you got the proud men and the proud, beautiful women and the little babies, and they're all sitting there looking all royal and important, and they're all dressed up. And then you got the picture in the back of the family that's sort of representing the legacy. Like that picture will, could last 100 years. And then you've got all the important little documents with the little glasses and the paperwork and the books. It looks so sophisticated, so classy. Like it's like black and classy. And I don't know about y'all. I hope I don't sound bougie when I say this, but I love seeing black people like black and classy, right? It doesn't mean you can't be ratchet. It don't mean you can't have some fun. It doesn't mean you can't be outside sometimes. But really, I like it when we're also seeing classiness and just dignity as a part of black culture. Yeah, do you get what I mean? Right? I like to see us when we are presented to the world in a dignified manner, where we're just as dignified as those white folks that want us to be their employees. You're just as valuable as they are. You are. Your legacy, your name matters as much as their name. It does, and I really think that this designation of ourselves as these people who are always confined to being lower class, working class, struggling, uneducated, and whatever, that's not who we are. That no, we have every bit of a right to have a powerful family legacy as Sam Walton's family. Sam Walton was just a little country boy from Arkansas, but now all his kids are multi-billionaires because he built Walmart. Well, that started somewhere. That started with somebody making a sacrifice that was supposed to last across multiple generations. And I just downstairs I was talking to a black woman at this conference about about Sam Walton, and I said the beautiful thing I love about things like the All Black National Convention or the Traffic Sales and Profit Conference is that you get a chance to learn from people that understand what it's like to be black. They understand the limitations. They understand the challenges. They understand that our businesses are underfunded and all that. I told her, I said, I remember reading a story about how Sam Walton started Walmart and Walmart had started growing and he was stressed out because he needed $1.5 million in 24 hours to keep Walmart open. If he had not been able to raise $1.5 million in 24 hours, Walmart would have shut down and there would be no Walmart. And I said, I don't know any black people. I don't know many black people who can go raise 1.5 million in 24 hours. I don't. They exist. There are people out there that can do it. They're these unicorns, but most black people I know, or I remember in business school when at Syracuse in the entrepreneurship programs, they would say, well, it takes 3 to 5 years for a business to make it to become profitable. I said, most black people I know can't spend 5 years losing money. You can't lose $1 million a year for 5 straight years and then say, oh, we finally made a profit. No, most people I know in my community where I come from, you got like 3 to 5 months to figure it out, to figure out how to make a profit. So that means that our business models have to be a little bit different from everybody else's. You have to tweak the engine on the car a little bit differently to get that sucker going because it's not the same for you as it is for everybody else. Uber lost $8 billion in 2020, 2021. How many people can survive losing $8 billion and still be in business? Now they're profitable. It's like, oh yeah, the shareholders are. It's a different experience for us, right? So again, if you want to know why I think events like the All Black National Convention and all that are important, because Lord knows we don't do it for the money because we lost money, we lose money at the convention, but we're gonna always keep doing it. It's because you learn more from learning from other black business owners than you will ever learn from Harvard Business School, Yale, or any of these other places that are going to charge $150,000 for you to get that degree. You just you're going to be around people. When I was here at this conference, I was so invigorated, I had so much fun, and I was sitting there talking to all these black people that are making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in their businesses, and we all understood what it means to be black, and nobody was walking around pretending to be a white man in black skin, like sort of what we have to do when we have to blend in to these environments that disempower us, right? So anyway, when's the conference going to be? It's going to be late October. We're nailing down the final date. It's going to be in Chicago. If you want to see the All Black National Convention, just go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. And every year we have so many experts from, we have some of the higher level people like the former CEO of the Air Jordan brand, Larry Miller. He spoke at our last conference. Billionaire Mike Roberts. We have people like that, but we also have people that are entrepreneurs that are building smaller businesses. That some of whom made their first million, first couple million, stuff like that. We cover all the different areas, for everything from stock market investing to crypto to entrepreneurship to real estate, all that stuff. So we have a ton of experts. So, and in fact, the recordings will out there. I can email you guys something to let you guys know what they are. It's allblacknationalconvention.com. I'll type that in the chat if you want to go take a look, and you can still get your early bird tickets. Uh, we only allow 700 people at the conference, so we're gonna sell out just because we don't want to have a big blowout. We're not trying to be InvestFest 2.0 because that's too many people. Because I like the intimate nature. I want people networking. But if you want to go take a look and get your early bird ticket, you can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. And also, we're very family oriented, so we really like it when you bring your kids and bring your whole family, because the family business is really the economic center point for the Black community. Okay, so just to share this last piece of the screen, you see here that number 5 is regular plan reviews and updates. So that means that once a year, you want to review your estate plan. A lot of people make an estate plan and then they forget about it and don't look at it for years. And then something happens, something changes. There's a divorce. Next thing you know, your ex-wife is getting all your stuff, or somebody that you fell out with is set to inherit a bunch of money from you or whatever. So regular updates about once a year is good, just to kind of know what's going on with that. But I would encourage you to really put as much energy into learning this type of stuff as you might put into learning how to do whatever you do on your job, right? Like we spend a lot of time, we spend 4 years in college, a lot of time studying how to do a certain job, working for a company. Well, I think that we should spend just as much time studying how to run that entity called our family or our legacy or our business, right? Put as much energy into yourself as you do into everybody else. I think that's really important. Now, what I want to do is to make sure that we catch up. We missed the day. I'm going to give you a kind of a double homework assignment that kind of relates to the first part, but this relates to knowledge and investing in terms of learning, as opposed to just legacy planning and culture. And so this day 28 reflection is: did your family ever teach you about money growing up? How has that impacted your life now? Now, the reason for this reflection is I want you to reflect on how differently your life would have been if you had learned the things that I'm teaching you right now, if you had learned these things when you were 7. I want you to think about different choices you would have made. I want you to think about uh, different options you would have had, different perspectives you would have taken. Would you have majored in the same major when you went to college? Would you have even gone to college? Would you have married the person that you married if you had known then what you know now, right? Because we've even talked about in our financial reflections how those relationships really impact our wealth. Who we choose to marry is a massive, massive economic decision. And I know someone who is a financial therapist, and they're doing therapy with a person who married a guy that she thought was rich because he was an entertainer. And the therapist just flat out asked, "Well, what did you know about his finances before you got married?" She said, "Nothing." Right? She probably knew things about him. Maybe she knew how good looking he was. She knew that he was funny. She knew that, what it was like to sleep with him and what it was like to have conversations with him. But she didn't know what she was jumping into when he gave her a bunch of financial STDs. And that's a term I use in my book, Financial Lovemaking. I talk about financial STDs and what happens, because when you blend with another person, you merge lives with that person. Whatever they got, you gonna get. Whatever problems they have, they become your problems. So effectively, having some type of awareness, that's that word consciousness again, having consciousness when you enter into relationships with other people will help you understand what you're getting into. And I'm not just talking about Simple stuff like, oh, I didn't know you had $120,000 in student loans. Or other stuff like, oh, I didn't know you had a gambling addiction that was going to cost us 40% of our family's money. Or, oh, wait, you mean you have four babies, mamas? I thought you only had two. So now we got four women in the household taking food out of my baby's mouth. Wait, you mean because I like to date bad boys and I'm dating a drug dealer, you mean I might get shot or get a RICO charge because you hid cocaine in the attic of my house, right? These are real stories. I'm bringing these stories to light because these are real things that I've really seen happen. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, right? And I'm telling you, all these things are related to financial planning. All these things are related to just life planning. And if you miss a point, like if you get a bunch of them and you miss a couple of things, those things that you miss can be the things that destroy everything. And I like to talk about money as it blends into life, right? It's not work-life balance, it's work-life blend. It's not financial life balance, it's financial life blend because your life is the envelope that encapsulates your financial situation, your financial experience, and money is not the destination. Money is the tool to get you to the destination, which is to have a healthy, wealthy experience in this thing called life, and to also make sure that the lives of those that you love are better because you were here instead of having it be worse because you were here, or worse because you didn't plan, or worse because you made bad choices, right? And again, this is not to make anybody feel bad about bad choices you made because we all make bad choices. We all make mistakes. So don't beat up on yourself about it, but consciously reflect on it. And if it makes you mad, get mad and then say, okay, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to break this generational curse? Or if I can't go back and change it, I'm going to make sure that everybody I talk to, every young person in my family is going to learn not to do what I did because I'm going to make sure that there is a reward at the end of the trauma and the loss that I experienced by making bad decisions. There's always a win, there's always a gain, there's always a benefit to anything terrible that you go through, any terrible choice you made, any horrible mistake you made. Do you know how many great things I've learned from people who simply said, don't do what I did? And do you understand what that does is that gives them the keys to immortality, you see, because instead of being able to do the impossible, which is what they want to do, they really want to go back in time and relive the 1980s where they made all these mistakes. But instead of doing that, they were able to pour into me as a young person and I was able to navigate life a lot better because they paid a price. They paid a price. They had what they thought was a loss, but it wasn't really a loss. It was an investment if you consider the fact that wealth is a team sport. Do you understand? So my loss, my my pain, my experience, my challenge is an investment in you. I messed up and learned about this thing called life so I can pass the knowledge on to you so that your life is going to be better because I made a sacrifice. That's called a team sport. Today when I watched the Baltimore Ravens play against whoever they're playing, I can't remember who they're playing. You can tell me in the chat. I forget stuff like that. But when I watched the Ravens play, the Chiefs, that's right, the Chiefs. There's going to be these guys, these big fat hogs at the front of the line called linemen who are going to block so that Lamar Jackson can run through the offensive line and get to the end zone, or Patrick Mahomes can pass the ball to Travis Kelce. These linemen are going to block and they're not going to get any credit for their sacrifice. Some of them are going to get injured. Some of them are going to get beat up, bruised, and bloodied, and they're not even going to get a lot of credit for what they do. But their job is essential because without those individuals, the team can't score. That job is the most important job on the football team. In my view, in my opinion, the most important thing, the most critical thing a football team can do is to have people that can block for the quarterback and the running back. Because basically, in football, in case you don't know the sport that well, you have a plan to move the ball down the field, but you can't do that if you don't have people blocking to clear the path for you to get those things done. So sometimes our job is not to be the wide receiver or the quarterback. Follow me now on this. Sometimes our job is not to be the superstar of the team. Sometimes our job is to be the lineman. Sometimes our job is to be and there's and I really think that if you're self-actualized properly and you're aiming for this and you're conscious, you accept that. You say, okay, you know what? Um, like look at Walt Disney. No one knows who Walt Disney's dad was and his mother was, but they were essential to blocking and clearing the path for Walt Disney to go on and create one of the greatest economic empires in the history of this world. Martin Luther King Jr. was an amazing man, but Martin Luther King Sr. was a bad boy. And his mama was an amazing woman who gave her life. She died. She was killed actually by a black man in Atlanta in church a couple years after her son. So she went through, she sacrificed. She blocked for her son. The father blocked. They without them, there is no Martin Luther King. We don't get the gift of Dr. King without his parents. Do you understand? So understand this, and this is the last point I'm gonna leave you all with before we finish our meditation for today, is that you gotta look at this game as like a big 150-year plan. You gotta really look at it that way. You can't look at it like, okay, I'm thinking about what's gonna happen next year or in 2025, 2026. That's all fine and good, but the real interesting stuff is the stuff you'll never see. This is why consciousness is important, because unconscious people can't have a vision. They can't see 100 years in the future. They can't see things that are not right in front of them. So you got to really meditate on this. You got to really sit back and imagine the year 2123 or 2140, so you can really see that you're part of a big, big, fat, gigantic game. Right? Think about how many important things happened in 1940 and 1950 that even allowed you to exist now. Right? You're without your mother and without your mother deciding to ask your father or go out, or your father deciding to ask your mother out on a date in 1964, you wouldn't even be here, right? They didn't know that the important role they were playing. They didn't know they were blocking for you. They didn't know that him simply deciding to ask your mama out instead of going to McDonald's was literally going to be like the whole opening of this wormhole of a universe called your existence. They didn't think about that. They were just thinking, well, I don't know, I'm kind of hungry. I can't think I want a cheeseburger, but that girl's kind of cute. Let me go over and talk to this girl real quick before I go get my cheeseburger. They don't even understand that. They don't understand that massive butterfly effect that led to all these things that have happened in your life over the next 50, 60, 70 years. Do you understand? So I need you to consciously reflect on the butterfly effects that are existing right now. Me deciding to wake up this morning and get on this conversation with you, I believe this is what excites me, because I meditate on financial consciousness a lot. It excites me because I know that there's going to be something I'm going to say to somebody somewhere where they're going to say it to their kid, and their kid is going to go off and do something unbelievable that they never would have done if I had decided to stay in bed and watch Netflix. Do you understand? Do you understand why that excites me so much? Why I get up every day and say, man, I got a purpose. This is an opportunity. I'm going to go in here and do my absolute best because I want to penetrate into whatever brainwashing that they've given us to help us not understand our potential, so that we can really understand like what a great opportunity we have to do something amazing. So every day I get up, and that's what I'm thinking. Because in economics, they call that the multiplier effect, which is kind of like the butterfly effect. It just kind of says one thing affects another thing, which affects another thing. So I'm literally thinking that there's somebody who's going to bring their 8-year-old to this conversation. They're going to look and say, this man was screaming and hollering, but he said something I remembered about having a will or something. And then 70 years down the line, something different is going to occur because I had this conversation with you, and it's going to affect somebody's life in the year 2138. Do you understand? And you have that same power. You have all of that. You have all of that. But you got to understand who you are and what you are. You got to understand what you are. I talked to a woman the other day who said, I'm 70 years old, Dr. Boyce. She said, I love your speech. I said, thank you. She said, I'm 70 and I realize I don't have as much time as I want. But I figured I'd make a 20, 30-year plan because I plan to live to be 100. And I said, what I need you to really realize is that you're not the end of anything. You're the beginning. You're the beginning. You might be the end of part of your story, but you're the beginning of somebody else's story. And I said, so let's not just talk about you. Let's talk about your 9-year-old granddaughter. Your story's beginning, and you're an incredibly important character in her story. Your decision to be your best and to present your best to her and to block for her and to pour into her, that's going to play out massively over the next 70, 80, 90 years that she's on this earth, and all the people that she interacts with. And I know this because the number one reason that I can do what I do right now is because of my grandma, rest her soul, who died in 2012. she's in heaven watching all this. But things she said and poured into me when I was 6, that's why I do what I do right now. That's why I act the way I act. That's why I literally can tell you with 100% confidence that I'm completely fearless in terms of what I'm doing, because I know I feel it. I feel the purpose here, and I see it. I see it clearly. And so I want you to see what's inside of you. I want you to understand wherever you are. I don't care if you're young or you're old, male, female, rich, poor, educated, uneducated. Your power is infinite when it comes to understanding the butterfly effects of your behavior. If you don't understand this, just think about how powerful a father is when it comes to shaping his family and the way they experience the world. Right? I knew this family. I'm gonna tell the story, then we're gonna finish up for today. There was this guy who was a 92-year-old man, and he was interesting. He lived by himself, and he was the grandfather of this girlfriend I had a long time ago in my 20s. And he would have these, he was 92, but he would have these girlfriends that would be like 27, and I think they were on drugs. So he would have these little drug addicted girlfriends about 27, 28 years old, and they would always show up at his house whenever he got his social security check. And I remember saying to her, and I said, I said, uh, I said, why is it that this man is sitting there and getting exploited by all these young women, and he's living by himself. He's 92, and nobody, you got all these cousins and everybody, nobody will go and check on him and stay with him and make sure he's okay. And she said, nobody messes with him because this man was an absolute bastard. She said that when he was in his 30s and 40s, he worked in the mafia, and he was a hitman for the mob. And he literally tried to kill his wife with an axe. Like, that's how crazy this man was. Traumatized the whole family, scared the hell out of all the kids, all the grandkids. His wife, who was who was in her 80s, she wouldn't go near this man. When you brought his name up, she would get scared. And what I saw in that example was it was a terrible case of how a man's power, if not used responsibly, can create intergenerational trauma that lasts for 50, 100 years after he's dead. And then I started reflecting on his children and his grandkids. And you talk about a dysfunctional family, they're all over the place. They all over, all over, right? So imagine if this man had instead use that power, because he's clearly a courageous man. He was a hitman for the mob. I mean, that's a pretty strong man. Imagine if he had consciously been conscious enough and been trained to use that power in a way that uplifts everyone around him, as opposed to harming, destroying, and traumatizing everybody. Right? Imagine if he just, got up every day and said, my purpose is to make sure that you're successful, that you're happy, that you're wealthy, that you're good, that you're loved, and that you're on top of the world, right? That man could have done the exact opposite. Right. So when I think about my life, my goal is to be the exact opposite of what that man was for his family. The same way he created multiple generations of trauma and pain, I want to create multiple generations of prosperity, success, happiness, and power. Hey, and that's what drives me every day. That's my meditation. That's my consciousness each morning when I get up and I talk to you. Okay. And I hope that some of this is working. I don't know what's working and what's not. I just know that I'm doing my best, and I hope that works for you. Okay. So anyway, and thank you for hanging out with me today. We're gonna meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And also, if you want to see the recordings of all the trainings we've done, we're up to 28 now. And they're all at drboyceelevate.com. That's drboyceelevate.com. And in addition to that, if you want to join the next training that we're going to do starting February 1st, just go and get the workbook, the study guide, and I'll share that. It's at Dr. Boyce Books. And actually, I'll also in the chat. Here's that training. Some of you are asking about how to make money without working. If you'd like to go take a look at that, then feel free to to apply some of what you see in that. I think that it actually does work. This is what we actually do to make money in our family. And so give me a second here. I'm going to give you guys the link to go buy the workbook. So you may want to order it now. I hope we don't sell out, but I'm going to go ahead and get a bunch printed as well. And if you can't get the hard copy workbook on time, then we can arrange to also get you the digital copy as well. And we start February 1st, and we're going to literally go through step by step slide by slide, my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. And that will be an opportunity for you to really internalize everything that's in the book. I did not write this book just so that everyone can say, I got your book. I don't care about that stuff. I wrote the book because I believe this is the type of stuff that will push us over the edge to the point where we become the canaries in the mine and the leaders when it comes to wealth. I believe that we are able to solve the black wealth problem very easily. In fact, it's not a problem anymore if you do exactly what you need to do. I also believe that we need unique focus on the specific challenges and opportunities that we have in our community. In addition to that, I believe that there are basic steps you can take that will get you to that next level. Now, Sharon says I ordered 10 copies. Thank you. And if anybody else wants to do what Sharon did, we do have something called Each One Teach One, where if you like the book and it works for you, and you want to share that with others, we want to make it easy for you. So we drop the price quite a lot. Where if you want to if you want to give the books away, you can. If you want to sell them, and make a profit, there's plenty of room for profit. If you, just so you can make it into a business, if you believe in the mission here, whatever. We just want to support you and do business with you, and not just talk to you about things that we can teach you, but also help you make money. So let me share this with you. So the Each One Teach One program, basically the books, 10 copies of the book is normally $300. You can go to this link that I just shared with you. And what that link will do is it will instantly drop the price from 300 to 194 if you want to get 10 copies and just buy them all and have them in your house and give them away, or sell them, whatever you want to do. And then also, here's another added bonus you get because you're here. You can actually use the code word book club, all one word, and that'll actually take another 30% off of the discounted price. So that drops the price from 300 to 136, or $30 per book, down to 13. So if you wanted to do it as a business, you could sell the books for the full price and you would make a profit. With pretty much splitting the revenue 50-50. Actually, your profit's higher because we'd have to pay to print the book, but that's fine. I don't care about that stuff. And that's a viable business. So if it's something that you believe in, I encourage you to consider adding this to your business model. You're learning, you're internalizing things, but remember, my goal is to hopefully get you to consider this. I don't really want to teach students. I want to teach teachers, right? I really want I love the stories when you tell me what you're teaching your kids and your relatives and your family and everything else. And the same way we do book clubs and stuff like that here, you can do that with your family. Like we've got to do this. And the reason we have to do this is because we have to take responsibility for our community. We have to take responsibility for our family. We are the ones who are going to get ourselves where we want to get to. Nobody else is going to do it. Nobody's going to take care of my kids except for me. We have to understand that. So take the reins. I will help you. I will share with you what I know, and let's just go out here and let's just be the best on earth at what we do, because I know we've got that in us. Okay. All right. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. I will see you all tomorrow, and God bless you, and have a good day. Bye bye. Oh, go Ravens, by the way.